Leave it to Disney to poo-poo their own logo.
How is that a bad thing?
So, does anyone watching this actually need this animated storybook reset of Winnie the Pooh? Pretty sure we are all well versed in the broad particulars of this silly old bear.
There are plenty of kids out there that don't know who Pooh and the gang are, so this might be there for them to show them who they are.
I don't think I'll need any help remembering the wood.
You wouldn't think so, would you? I mean, it would be one thing if it was an experience from when he was 4 or 5, but he's a full-on teenager right here. If he really had these experiences at this age, there is no possible way he would convince himself that they were all part of his imagination, despite what this bit of foreshadowing is trying to tell us.
There is a difference between forgetting something and thinking that it was part of your imagination. It is clear what happened was that he forgot, not that he thought they weren't real.
I'm not going to do nothing anymore. They don't let you at the boarding school.
Is this the sequel to Where the Wild Things Are? It's pretty clear Christopher Robin is Max, and he's been imagining these animals the whole time to get away from his troubled family life. I don't know if that's a sin, really, but I'm gonna count it as one.
First of all, this is a very different movie from Where the Wild Things Are, and secondly, this comparison falls apart the moment you realize that in this film, the toys are not in his imagination and are actually really alive.
Not even going in with him? I mean, even if you don't have the common decency to make sure the kid gets settled in. This is boarding school, for God's sake. Don't you at least have some papers to sign or something?
Who's to say they didn't sign the papers before they dropped him off? Like, they must have visited the school before they dropped him off so they could check it out, so they could have signed the papers then.
Wait a minute, how in the hell did Christopher Robin score Agent Carter? Sure, he offered his seat on the bus, and then some cheeky blighter stole it and she kinda laughed at it. But did they get into an interesting conversation on that bus afterwards? You know how Ted took 8 years to explain to his kids how he met their mother? This is like the total opposite of that.
Since the scene ended there, who's to say they didn't?
To recap, Christopher Robin left his imaginary childhood friends behind. He was terrible at math. His dad died. He met Haley Atwell, who is perpetually stuck in World War II, got her pregnant, went to war, came home, and met his daughter, went to work at Winslow Industry, and now he's an asshole. That's like a 3-hour movie and 12 minutes of opening credits. Phew.
You could say the same thing about Up's opening montage, but no one ever has. So I don't think that saying that showing what happened in his life in a montage is rushed, because we see everything we needed to see for this story to happen. Also, it wasn't that he was terrible at math, it was that his teacher was strict.
Christopher Robin has to decide who to fire, and apparently we're going with the morose Dickensian version of Winnie the Pooh, just like we hope for in all adaptations of our fond childhood memories.
What's wrong with having a more adult-focused sequel to a childhood story where the main character is adult and has to deal with adult problems?
She also said you'd be working this weekend.
Well, it can't be helped.
I never can.
I see we are onto the marriage strain portion of our children's entertainment now.
Why is that a bad thing? Especially in this story, it makes sense since he's never around and always focused working. Is it a bad thing that they have the trope of the marriage strain when it makes perfect sense in this story?
I have to stay for work.
I never see you.
And now we are wallowing in parental neglect? I have never seen a more constipated movie in my life. I get that you're trying to set up the conflict, but it's been 20 minutes. Just Pooh already.
We already got a lot of Pooh in the beginning of the movie, and also, you explained it yourself, they're setting up the conflict.
Do you think you could read to me for a minute?
The Victorian era signified the height of the Industrial Revolution.
Movie isn't satisfied that you know what an out-of-touch, unfun person Christopher Robin has become, so it makes him read a history book to his daughter. Like, is this the first time he's ever read to her in his life?
Since she mentions that she never sees him, and he is usually working, and we see that her mom is the one that hangs out with her more, I would say yes.
The way this is cut makes it seem like the whole thing gets set into motion because of some spilt honey that woke up Pooh Bear. But certainly plenty of people spill honey all over England, and Pooh basically wanders out of the 100-acre wood because he can't find anyone else to talk to. So what does the honey trap have to do with anything?
Do I even have to explain this? It's because it was Christopher Robin's honey that fell, and it's because that Pooh has the special bond with Christopher Robin.
Hello.
Pooh's hello from the other side moment conveniently takes place at a park in London that is somehow completely secluded, unoccupied, and located directly across the street from the Robin's Nest.
To be fair, it's in the morning, so either everyone's probably in their houses getting ready or going to work. And for the other problem, the thing is that the tree was magic, clearly, and was triggered through Christopher remembering him, so it sent Pooh to where it needed to. The movie even says that later. Well, hello there!
Nosy Neighbor knows not that Nervous Neighbor is nearby. Nevertheless, Nosy Neighbor navigates nimbly, nearing nonsensically Nervous Neighbor naturally.
You answered this one yourself. The neighbor is nosy.
And now Pooh is eating honey from the same type of jar, but it's unbroken. Is it a new jar? When did he clean up the mess of the first jar? That stupid, pointless, broken honey jar is going to haunt my nightmares until Gabriel Byrne agrees to throw it into the fire for me.
What evidence is there that they don't have more than one jar? Also, if you pay attention, the first scene took place during the morning, and this scene was at night, which means he had plenty of time to clean it up.
Who traipsed through honey and had a bunch on his feet and mouth? But sure, honey is really easy to clean up on a toy bear. Even if this is just Christopher Robin's imagination, I guess I'm sinning his imagination for the continuity errors.
Once again, this film confirms that it's not his imagination, and also, I hate to say this, but it's a movie about a talking teddy bear. Does this really matter? Also, that's not a continuity error. It's just not realistic.
We can't see you moving and talking.
But why?
Seriously, it didn't seem to bother Londoners in those Paddington movies. Make up your mind, English bear movies.
The Paddington movies do not take place in the same world as this movie, and this film's a different time period, and a different studio made it. So the rules of that movie don't apply to this movie. They're different realities.
There he is.
How would you know that? I mean, yeah, it's definitely Pooh, but just 10 seconds ago you ran into this little girl with a balloon, and they were selling balloons at the train station. And this is clearly a woman pushing a stroller with a balloon on it, but no clear Pooh. So what makes you so certain it's him?
Because even though there was a guy selling balloons, and he already found someone with a red balloon that wasn't with Pooh, that if you pay attention, you will see that there are no other red balloons around there, so that would make him assume that. Also, he would probably have checked anyway because of the fact he needs to look for any red balloon anyway to find Pooh.
Do you always have that case with you?
Look, dude, if Haley Atwell wasn't able to get a message through to Christopher about working too hard, you're sure not... Oh, Christopher values the advice of a possibly imaginary bear over his gorgeous wife.
He does not actually start listening to Pooh's advice until he starts actually looking for the others and he starts regaining his childhood innocence, and that's what makes him do it. It's the experiences he actually has in the woods that make him go get his childhood ways back, not just Pooh saying something.
Look, she's working.
Does she have a briefcase like you?
Holy crap, this message is hammered in this thing. Look, this movie is very sweet. You'd have to be an irredeemable dick to be harsh toward a cute, innocent bear like Pooh, voiced again by the great Jim Cummings. But this movie is like a hodgepodge of a ton of other movies, and now it can add a Christmas Carol to its checklist.
Okay, so there's a lot there for that one, and I'll say this. It makes sense to have moments showing the message to Christopher due to the fact that he doesn't get it, so he needs to learn it, and it makes sense in these scenes to do stuff like that, and it works well. And the other thing about it being a hodgepodge of a bunch of movies, including Christmas Carol, I'm like, how? Because he realizes he was wrong about something by looking into a window? It's like, I don't think that was just a Christmas Carol ripoff. And it takes influence from some stuff, maybe, but it's not just a hodgepodge of a bunch of movies.